that goes into the money multiplication box for you to start getting some returns. Now, when you are relying on one source of income, it means that you can only be able to save so much, you can only be able to multiply so much, and that means then you can only be able to expect returns to a certain extent. If you had several streams of income, then you realize you can be able to save more, you can be able to send more into multiplication. However, if you started or if you start this journey as early as you can, then it's easier for you to transform your one source of income into two sources of income, into three sources of income as you begin to play into that particular cycle. So the earlier, the better for you. But again, we have to remember that it's never too late to start doing the right thing. I thank God for the opportunity to have mingled with people of different ages, people of different backgrounds, and I have come to conclude that we do not have a script in life. So do not give up just because your age is advanced. Sometimes I sit with our elders, and sometimes they're giving up. They're telling me, I wish I had this when I was young. It is true you might want to wish you had this when you were young, but it's also true that there's something you can do to make your remaining days better. Okay? And I've met many of them who are actually on the verge of giving up. And that becomes a dangerous thing. And the last couple of weeks or so, I've sat down with elderly people who have been in disturbing situations, who have even started thinking suicide because they're advanced in age and they're feeling that the curtains are closing on them and that there is no window for them to pick up life again, right? And that can become very disturbing. And especially when you listen to some of the things some of us will be telling you, when we'll be putting you into some boxes and telling you, you need to have done this by this age, you need to have done this by this age. Well, while that can be very inspiring, especially to the young people, while that can give them a kick, a push into them doing the right thing, we have to always remember that life is not scripted. That life, if it is scripted, then the only scripter of life is God. The only one who holds, the only one who knows the script he had for you from the onset is God Almighty and none of us. So if you hear me telling you that if by age 40 you have not achieved this, if by age 50 you have not achieved this, then you need to forget, then I think I don't even know. I don't even think that that can come from me. But if you ever hear me say that, then I think you need to just get out of that class, okay? Because experience has also taught me otherwise. It is true that those classifications might speak to a bigger portion of people. Those classifications might, in my view, it works very well for the young people when they are just churning out of college, of school, and you remind them that it is easier for you to achieve this when you are still in this age bracket because you have energy, you have all this at your disposal. But it's also good to remember that it is also possible for you to see light even at an advanced age. Let me share with you just one story, one brief story that I've just remembered that would help you not give up if you have an advanced age. I met an older man. I think he had actually retired. All right, he had retired while I was still at the bank, and I had the opportunity to journey with this man in his business. He had retired, and he retired without seeing light. You know, there are those realities that you can actually work and get to retirement. You don't have a house to call your own. You don't have a place to call your own. You don't have where to start from. Probably you blew up your entire retirement, golden handshake, whatever it is that they gave you. Or maybe there was nothing they gave you. Maybe they gave you a wheelbarrow and told you it was good doing business with you. So you left the gates of the organization with a wheelbarrow and you're asking yourself, how do I even get this wheelbarrow at home? Maybe you just want to sell the wheelbarrow at the gate, and then you look at the money you get from the wheelbarrow. It may not even be enough bus fare to get you back to your village or wherever it is. Right, so it is possible that you can work and retire without seeing light, probably because you did not encounter some of these um, knowledge items while you were working, while you were still young. And so you just retire like that. And I'm sure you've seen people who retired like that. Or probably you retired and people lied to you and you gave them your final money in the hope that you have invested and that returns will start coming. And before you know it, you realize that you've been scammed, right? I know many people have committed suicide because of that. Many people have given up, have sunk into depression because their final dues, they placed it wrongly, and they burned their fingers, right? So I met this man. I think he was in his 60s, right? I think he was in his 60s, and he had resolved to start a business, a small business, a small business. He was actually selling sweets on a table in the market, in the local market of where he was, right? So he had a table in the market where he would be having a stock of sweets, a stock of, water, biscuits, snacks, and all those things for the people in the market to buy. That was his starting point. Someone in his 60s has chosen not to give up, has chosen to start life again, because you're still alive, you're still breathing. And maybe you look at your children, they are not in a position to help you. You don't want to rely on them. And this older man decided that he was going to do something to be to be independent. He was going to do something to rely on himself again. And he started. And so when we met, the question that he had was, what can I do so that later on the bank can be able to boost my business? And I remember us advising him that he needed to be very meticulous, very disciplined in his banking. He needed to make sure that every day he needs to deposit his sales for the day. Then if he needed to buy more stock the following day, there's no problem. He would come and withdraw his money and buy stock. Later on, the bank would use that history to know whether or how much he would qualify to be boosted with. And the old man was so disciplined. I've never seen a disciplined man like what became of that man. Every day, close to 4 p.m. before the bank would close, the man would be there. Whether he has sold 200 shillings, whether he has sold 500, 1,000, he would be there to deposit. He did that faithfully. As long as I can remember, he did that every day of the days that I saw him. Fast forward, the man came for his first loan. I think we gave him 50,000 bob. Now, the stock he started with was, in his estimates, was not more than 20,000 bob, the stock that he started with. That is everything, including the chumas that made the table, the stand that he uses in the market, the labor and the actual stock and everything, the permit and everything did not get to 20,000 shillings, right? So we gave him 50,000 bob, and he was able to add some stock and expand his table a bit, right? So he started having more things. He started even selling some of the things to the other hawkers. You know, those ones who will be carrying things in carton boxes, moving around the market and the stage, hawking physically. Now he sort of became like their wholesaler in a way. So they would quickly, once they finished selling their water, they would come and pick from him. Some of them started being his salespeople. So he would give them items to go and sell and pay them some commission. Then he finished his loan before time. I think the first loan was to be cleared in 6 months. He cleared in about 5 months. And then there was a time the municipality had constructed those stalls in the market. And so he was one of those who applied. And as luck would have it, he got it. He got his stall. And you see, God works in interesting ways. So when he got his stall, he put the stock he had. Of course, the stall is now bigger, so it swallowed the entire stock. But because he had cleared our loan, he was given another 100,000 to boost his stock. And the discipline the guy had. So I was transferred from that place. But several years down the line, I visited that place, and you will not believe it. That man had a loan of 1 million in the books of the bank, and the loan was performing very well. That man had 2 fully stocked shops in that market, different corners of that market, one other end and the other end. That guy had become the supplier for those who will be hawking, for those who will be where he was several years back. A man who chose not to give up because of age. A man who chose to pick up his pieces. A man who chose to start from where he was. All right, there are many of us who look at the money on our hands and we say, this is little capital. We are waiting for the day we will have a lot of money for us to start the supermarket, for us to start whatever it is that we will start. Yet the truth is that we can do so much with what we already have. If we only were able to swallow our pride, if we only were able to think a bit more, to think a bit harder, if we only were able to open our minds and begin to learn about what is happening elsewhere. I've met very interesting stories of people who started business with 1,500 shillings, and today the businesses are big. And you can actually see the progress. It makes sense. It's not one of those fairy tales we hear people say that they started selling item X and then boom, they became billionaires. And there's always a missing link in between here. You can't see how the few coins turned themselves into billions. But these are stories that you can pursue, that you can follow, and begin to see how these people began to make sense out of their lives once again. So I just shared that brief story. Of course, I have so many of those stories, just to encourage you, you that might want to think that age is against you, you that might have heard people say that if you haven't achieved this by this age, then probably your script is done. Curtains are not falling on you. They only fall on you when you die. But as long as you're alive, as long as you can breathe, you can think, as long as you have your faculties in place, then there is much more that you can do. You will be so amazed to know that God has a lot of things in store for us, regardless of the age that we are in. Right. So having looked at the dangers of relying on that one source, the big question is, so what would be the way forward? What would be the way forward? Right. And before then we look at the way forward, permit me then to introduce you to the different types of incomes, so that then you can identify where you are operating from. And as I say, I share this, feel free to also share in the chat where you are operating from, which kind of income you are in, and things like that, so that then we can begin to flow together. I want to share with us about 7 types of income streams, different income types. Then you can begin to identify your own. You can begin to also ask yourself, why is it that you have depended on this one when we have these other 6? Why is it that you have depended on these 2 when we have this other 5 looking at you? No one is limited. You can actually play in all the 7 if you know how to go about it, right? Now, the first income type is what I want to call remuneration income. Remuneration income. Now, this is the kind of income that is received for work done. This is the kind of income that you get paid in exchange for your services. This is the kind of income you receive because you are employed, because you've done some work, in exchange for your skills, in exchange for your sweat, in exchange for your time. Okay. So once you have exchanged your time, then you'll be remunerated. That's why I'm calling it remuneration income. Okay. And this is the kind of income that majority of the people are in. And it comes in the name of salary, it comes in the name of wages, it comes in the name of consultation fees. Okay, when you will consult, you will pay me some fees. That is remuneration, because you're paying me that in exchange for the skills that I have, in exchange for my time and things like those. So that is remuneration income. Now, remuneration income is very tempting, because once many people have actually been able to earn remuneration income, they get very comfortable because of, especially those that are earning salary or even wages that are determined, that are consistent in the way they come. So if they're earning their wages every end of the week, there is a way you want to become comfortable, because you know that at the end of the week, you will receive this, because you know that at the end of the month, you will receive this. So it is sort of defined in advance. There are people who even tell me the beauty of our employment world is that even if I felt lazy today a bit, I know that on such and such a date, some money is coming. And that's a beautiful thing. But it's only as beautiful as, as it sounds. Because beyond that, the big question that we asked is, how many days can you survive if that income is stopped? Right? So that is remuneration income. You apply for a job, you get a job, you work, you earn. You get a job, you work, you earn. When you start earning, before you know it, you realize that your expenses have caught up with you. You begin looking forward to a promotion. Some people will go back to school, get some more skills, come back and strategically position themselves for promotion. Some people will stay in the same position until they retire. Some people will give up while still in this particular bracket, because things do not seem like they're moving, because they don't seem to be attracting these promotions, because a lot of things are required of them for them to attract this growth items in their workplace, and probably maybe they're not able to be able to match the standards, and so they just sit, fold their arms, give up, continue working just because they need to work, or continue working because probably they're in debt, and this is the only way they can be able to pay some of their debts. Allow me to disturb you again, like I did some months back, by reminding you that you were never born to just pay bills and die. Life is bigger than paying bills every other day and waiting for the day you die. Unfortunately, that is the cycle of many of us. We work, we earn, we pay bills. We work, we earn, we pay bills. We work, we earn, we pay bills. And before we know it, our time is up. But life had more to offer. Life had more to extract from us. Life had more to serve us. If only we would have opened our eyes, if only we would have learned, if only we would have been able and ready to try some other things. So that would be remuneration income for you. Okay, income that comes called salary, income that comes called wages, income that comes called consultation fees, and whatever other name that you want to give it. So that is the first source. And I know that speaks to very many of us here. All right, so if that is your source, then you check that that is your source, remuneration income. Income number two that I want to talk about is what I call profit income. Profit income is income you get in exchange for, rather after selling something. So you buy something at a lower price and you sell it at a higher price. Okay, so you are in business and you make some profit. Your business could be a trading business. It could also be a service business where you are incurring some expenses to execute a certain service, to discharge a certain service, and then you get paid. And then at the end of the day, you can calculate and say, this is my profit. That is profit income, right? So there are those of us after school, we decided to start a business. Or we were even employed at some point, then we realized employment was not our thing, and we ventured into business, right? And so we opened our shop, we opened our ventures, we opened whatever it is that we opened, and we began trading and we started making profit. That income is what I'm calling profit income. So there are those of us who also, after starting getting some profit, they also get comfortable. And it's very dangerous, especially if the income you're getting is coming daily. Those people who run businesses that give them money daily, the chances of becoming comfortable are usually very high, because you know every evening there is money coming. Sometimes even when the business is sinking, you don't see, because you're blinded by the money that is coming. Many times I have sat with people who are in such businesses where they receive money daily, people in the matatu sector, people in the taxi sector, people in these other businesses, shops, that give them some money daily. Sometimes you don't even stop to calculate, to look at your business and see whether it is progressing, stagnating, or even retrogressing. There are businesses that started dying many years ago, but the owners have not realized, because at the end of the day, they're being given something. One day I met a guy who was struggling in debt, and his situation had been worsened by some matatu business that he was running. Make no mistake, this is not to condemn the matatu business. I've also sat down with people who are thriving big time in the matatu business. So it depends with a lot of other factors. So what happened to this guy is that his financial life started dying long time ago, but he could not see. And we did some basic maths. And this is what I usually tell those people. You need to sit down and really examine your business properly and be able to convince yourself that you're making profit. Right? Because every day you're being given, say, 3,000 bob. So at the end of the day, you are happy that 3,000 bob is coming, is the target you've given to your crew. But you are not stopping to also calculate how much how much money are you giving to the police? How much money are you using to replace the tires of your vehicles? How much money are you using for major services? Because then we realize that this vehicle would run every Sunday, they would be in the garage doing some minor services. But then at the end of every month, there would be need for a bigger service. And so we made our estimates and we looked at all these expenses and we realized that that business started making losses very many back, right? But the owner is not seeing because 3K is coming at the end of the day. So you realize that every day you collect 3,000 bob every day. For 6 days, at the end of the week, you have 18,000 shillings. Then you go and do some service that will cost you maybe 10,000 bob. So you're left with 8,000 bob. So you'll be probably saving 8,000 bob. Maybe not saving, because this is what is sustaining you. Okay. So then you look at 8,000 bob times 4, right? For 4 weeks in a month, then that gives you 32,000 bob. Then you realize at the end of the month, there is some major service looking at you. Even if it will not be at the end of every month, after 2 months or 3 months, there is a service, there's a major thing that is calling for 90,000 from you. That's calling for 100,000 from you. You've only saved 32,000, but you are needed to give 90,000. But because you want to see the matatu on the road, you go to your circle, you borrow some money. You go to your bank, you borrow some money. You go wherever, you borrow some money. So your debt portfolio is growing faster than the profitability from the business. For those of us that are listening this morning and you do a business that gives you money daily, actually, that would be the best business that gives you money daily, but you need to sit down and examine and convince yourself that you are actually making a profit, right? That's not a threat, it's just a statement of fact. Okay, so that is profit income. Profit income. So are you benefiting from income, or are you only benefiting from remuneration income? If you're benefiting from profit income, what is stopping you from also benefiting from remuneration income? What is stopping you? Right, number 3 kind of income is what I want to call interest income. Interest income is the income you make after you begin to give your money to someone, for someone to use the money, and then they pay you interest at the end of time. They begin to pay you interest at the end of time. So the crude way of doing that is when you literally give someone money, you become a lender, like the Shylocks, right? So you have some money and you say, because I have this idle money, let me use this idle money, give it to someone, and then let them pay me 10% at the end of the month. Right? Okay, so that 10% is interest. That is interest income. But I doubt that you have the strength and what it takes to become a Shylock. I doubt that you have what it takes to become a bank, a smaller bank, where you are, because again, there's a lot that is involved there. So many people find it a bit cumbersome because the risks are usually very high. If your money defaults, then you will be chasing after them yourself, be running after them yourself, and that might not be one of the gifted in. That might not be one of the things perhaps you thought you wanted to get yourself involved in. So there are still other ways of lending your money and earning interest. You can choose to lend your money to organizations, all right? Organizations that need money, and they will pay you interest at the end of the day. You can choose to lend your money to the banks. Very few people realize that the bank is actually borrowing their money. Very few people realize that that the money you keep in the bank, you're actually lending it to the bank. It's unfortunate that many of us keep money in the bank and we are earning nothing on it. It's very unfortunate, all right? And you think the bank is doing you a favor by keeping your money safe. That is not how it's supposed to run. Remember, the bank is using your money to make more money. So it is very dangerous for you to start thinking that probably the bank is doing you a bigger favor for keeping the money for you, that the bank is doing you a bigger favor for safeguarding your money. If anything, no money should be allowed to stay idle. No money should be allowed to just sit there. Every coin needs to be sent to call for more coins. So you can choose to lend to the bank by putting your money in accounts, in savings accounts that attract some interest. The interest will be very little, of course, I must mention. And we shared this when we were talking about investment basics. We looked at bank accounts as vehicles of investment to give us interest. But we must say that one of the risks was that, rather one of the realities was that the return from savings account is very little. If you want to make it slightly better, then you can choose to fix your money, to open a fixed deposit account. That will give you slightly higher than an ordinary savings account. But you will have lent your money to the bank, and it will be much better than your money just sitting there, doing nothing, and you smile because the bank has helped you keep your money. So don't allow any money to stay idle. Every money needs to be working, to be calling for more money, right? You can also choose to lend your money to the government. Every other month, the government is borrowing from its people through treasury bills and bonds, right? Bills are short-term, and I explained this in details, and bonds are long-term, okay? Then at the end of the time, the bank will pay you interest. If you buy treasury bills, they will sell you the bills at a discounted price, and then upon maturity, they give you the full value. So the difference will be your interest. If you buy into the bonds, then every 6 months, they pay you interest. So if you bought bonds for 10 years, for 15 years, every 6 months until maturity, you'll be receiving interest, 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 interest. And that becomes a source of income. You can also choose to lend your money to some corporates. Once in a while, some corporates will be borrowing money from people. Some corporates will be floating what is called corporate bonds, for example. So you hear a company floating a bond and calling on investors to come and put money, lend them money. So it's a very interesting way. It's a mature way. It's a quiet way. It's a corporate way of saying, lend me some money. Okay. So if you hear corporates calling for money and you look at them and you think this is a company you can invest in, then you can lend your money to them. Then at the end of the agreed period, they'll be paying you some interest. So that is interest income. So if you are only relying on remuneration income, what is stopping you from also benefiting from interest income? What is stopping you from benefiting from profit income? These are the questions I want you to be asking yourself as we move along. Number 4, type of income is what I want to call dividend income. Dividend income. Now, this is the income you receive for investing in another person's business. All right. And when you invest in that business, you become part of the business owners. For example, when you buy shares in shares of a business, when you buy shares in the stock market, for example. So when you buy Safaricom shares, for example, when you buy equity shares, KCB shares, or whichever other shares that you buy, you become part of the shareholders. You become part of the owners of the business. So when the business makes profit, shareholders will share in that profit by way of receiving what has been called dividends. Okay, some of you receive dividends from your circles because you have bought some shares in your circles. You have invested in your circle. So when your circle makes a profit, when your circle makes a surplus, then you share in that surplus by way of receiving dividends. Okay, so that is dividend income. Have you received some? If you haven't, what is stopping you from receiving some? Right. And then I think we have number 5. The 5th kind of income that I want to talk about is what I want to call rental income. Rental income. Now, this is the income you receive by hiring your asset out. Okay, so you have some asset. This asset could be a house. This asset could be a piece of land. This asset could be a motor vehicle. This asset could be plant and machinery. Okay, so if you have this asset and you just staying with it, it's lying idle in your compound, it's lying idle wherever you are, you can consider hiring it out. If someone else has use for it and you're not using it, why don't you allow them to use it and pay you some rent? Pay you something at the end of the month, at the end of 3 months, whichever period, the way you will have agreed. I'm sure those that come from farming regions, you've seen people leasing out their pieces of land and they receive some money. That is what I'm calling rental income. Those that have constructed houses, you call yourselves landlords or landladies. The people who occupy your houses pay you some rent at the end of the month. Okay, there are some people who have given their motor vehicles out. They've rented out their motor vehicles, either to car hire companies or some organizations that come and want to utilize vehicles. They don't want to buy their own vehicles. Okay, there is a point in the life of corporate organizations where it makes sense to rent than to buy. So if you are the one who has this kind of vehicle that they are looking for, you can rent it out. Every time we are going into the electioneering period, you see the IEBC calling for vehicles, and they have hired many vehicles from people. And at the end of the day, they will pay you some rental income. So if you're sitting on an asset, and the asset is not bringing you anything, maybe even the asset is on debt. So if anything, the asset is stealing money from you, you might want to start thinking about how you can receive some rental income from that particular asset so that it does not just sit idle. Okay, it is very bad. You know, you are a steward. You call yourself a steward. These classes are steward classes, stewardship classes. And a steward is a caretaker. It's a person who makes sure that the best happens out of the thing that they are taking care of. Okay, so if you've been allocated some resources, you want to make sure that you are gaining optimally. You are putting these resources to maximum use. You will, of course, remember the prominent story in Matthew of the guys who were given those talents. And we know that there's this guy who chose not to optimally utilize his talent. He actually buried it. And when the owner came, the owner was very mad. The owner said, it would even have been better for you to have, for me to have placed this with the banks. I would at least have earned some interest. That means that whatever it is that we are entrusted with, whatever it is that we are called to be stewards over, then we need to ensure that we are not letting it lie idle. We are asking ourselves, is this the best that can come out of this? Is there something else I can do to make sure that this resource works better than it is working now? Is there something else you can do to make sure that that asset that you have is bringing in something? Of course, we have to mention that profit income is a little bit capital intensive for it to happen, because these assets usually cost a lot of money. If it's land, it costed you a lot of money. If it's a motor vehicle, it costed you a lot of money. Whatever it is that you want to lease out is capital intensive. So if you're considering joining the income, the rental income box, then you might also just want to realize that it is a capital intensive kind of income to attract. It takes a lot of money to attract it. All right, but if you have that money and you've been allowing the money to lie idle, probably you might need to acquire an asset that you can lease out to start getting rental income. All right, so rental income is not just confined to buildings, to houses. Okay, it can be any asset. All right, it can be the assets that I have mentioned. People in the construction field know that we even lease out things like wheelbarrows. I know of a guy who has bought so many wheelbarrows, and all constructions in that area cannot go on without him leasing to them wheelbarrows. And he makes a lot of money. So every day he'll give out a wheelbarrow at 100 shillings or 50 shillings. And the guy has wheelbarrows, I think, close to 50. So when he gives out 50 wheelbarrows, and each wheelbarrow will give him 100 bob, that guy comes home with 5,000 bob every day. A wheelbarrow is low maintenance. Probably you only need to add some oil, maybe weld a few parts that have broken here and there. The guy has bought those Juakali wheelbarrows. They don't break very easily. So sometimes you're looking for opportunities very far away. I think I like saying many times we overthink. When you're thinking about money, we overthink. We are thinking about very, very big things, yet we have opportunities looking at us. All right. Yesterday evening, I was contrasting some businesses. One business on Biashara Street that I've spent some time observing, and not just that one business, a line of businesses along that particular street. And I observed that business, and I've observed that business for a long time because I've had the opportunity to work along Biashara Street. And I've looked at those businesses and how they operate, and I've asked myself, where do these people make money from? All right, it is possible that people out here will respect you, that you have a big business, you have a big shop along this particular street, and then they come and look at the size of the business, and probably you are paying rent in languages that involve millions. You know, when you start paying rent that is called 0. whatever million, probably per month or in a quarter. Yet, I also looked at another business downtown along River Road in those sides. And it's a tiny business. The rent that they pay is a dot compared to the rent that other guy paid. But if you look at the profit that is coming out of that particular business, if the two of them stood somewhere in a meeting, people will clap very highly for the person who has a shop along Biashara Street or along whichever street. I'm not saying all of them don't make profit. I'm just comparing and contrasting that it is possible that sometimes you are looking to sink your money into your big money into something that will look so prestigious, something that might make a lot of people think you're doing very well, when in reality there's also another opportunity that could also probably give you a lot of money that maybe may not come with the clout that you're looking for, but money is money. Once money comes, it has come. Right. Sometimes I look at I used to look at the accounts of the people who run shops downtown, and look at the people who run shops in uptown, and the comparison is unbearable. You cannot stand the reality. So I'm telling you this from an experience perspective, from a reality. Numbers don't lie, right? And sometimes we'll be journeying with customers from these two worlds, and keep asking yourself, how come the shops in this other world are closing so frequently, so often, right? Probably you pick a shop, you pay that thing they call goodwill, um, and sometimes goodwill in Nairobi can be exorbitant. And so you pay goodwill and you buy stock and you pay rent and you enter into this business. And I spoke to someone who told me for them to have established that business, they've spent 2 million bob. And I'm looking at the stock they have, and the stock is nowhere close to 1,000,000 shillings. And I'm asking myself, my goodness, is it possible that this money would have been placed differently? Right. But if you examine your business and you see that your opportunity is in that space, please don't keep it. I'm simply saying, talking about those of us who do not take time to examine, to evaluate everything that is involved in setting up that business. And we do it blindly, because I feel so sad when I meet a person who has invested all that money and 3 months down the line, they have closed business, that things are not working, that people are not buying what I thought they would be buying. And your shop is on 3rd floor, for example, and you didn't think about how you will market your shop. You didn't think about how traffic will flow to your shop. You didn't think about all that, and you paid a hefty goodwill amount, and you are paying a lot of rent amount, and you now have the business. So you wake up every day, you are the shopkeeper, you are also the only other person who is visiting the shop. That can be very disheartening. And very many people I know have burned their fingers in ventures like those ones. So sometimes you need to think a little more, a little harder, and be ready to do some things that are not very familiar, or rather very comfortable in the eyes of many other people. The 6th kind of income that I want to share about is what I call capital gains. Capital gains. Capital gains is when the value of the asset you have improves. Okay. Remember, in rental income, we are saying you have leased out your asset. In capital gains, we are saying the value of that asset is growing over time. So when the value of your asset grows, the difference between where it was and where it is now is capital gains. Now, capital gains become real money the day you sell that particular asset. Then the difference will be your capital gains, will be your income. When you buy shares, because there are some assets that allow you to earn twice on them. When you buy shares in a company, for example, you can choose to wait. So if you bought shares in a company at 5 shillings, right? Then you wait. You have a long-term strategy. Every year when the company makes a profit, you share in the dividend. So you also receive dividends. Okay. Now, with time, you realize that the price, the share price, has grown from 5 shillings to 20. So the difference of 15 is what I'm calling your capital gains. You have gained on your capital. Your initial capital was 5 shillings per share. Now it is 20 shillings per share. So that difference of 15 is your capital gains. Okay. You have a building. A building allows you to earn rental income, but it can also allow you to earn capital gains, because with time, if the cost of setting up that building was 10 million, after time, the building now is valued at 20 million. Should you choose to sell it in future, the difference will be capital gains, right? So there are those avenues that will give you chances to earn twice, to earn dividends or earn interest or earn whatever it is, other income from them. So they're also growing in value. Sometimes Even assets that we know depreciate, some people make money from them. I know people who bought vehicles at 500,000 shillings. They used the vehicles for 2-3 years, and they even sold at 600 shillings, right? It happens. Okay. So if you look at what you have had or rather what you used to acquire and what you are selling at, and there is a gap in between, a positive gap, that becomes your capital gains. Then the last income that I want to talk about is what I'm calling royalty income. Royalty income. Now, this is income that you receive for allowing someone else to profit from your idea, to profit from your processes, to profit from your literary work, to profit from your products. Okay, so it comes in different shapes. You can earn royalty income from patents. So you've come up with products, you've come up with novel ideas, new things, and you've patented. So anyone else who wants to use it, they will pay you for them to use it, right? It can come in form of copyrighted work. Okay, you've written a book, it is copyrighted, and someone else wants to benefit from it, to profit from it. Then periodically, they get to pay you some royalties. Okay, like when we place our books on Amazon, for example, Amazon has two avenues. There is the other avenue where you place your books only to sell. Okay, so people go there to just buy books. But there's another thing that you also sign up for, where you allow Amazon to act as a library and begin to lend out your books to other people to read. And then they collect money from those people. So Amazon will be profiting from your work, but then they'll be paying you royalties for allowing them to rent out your books. So periodically I would wake up and I receive an email from Amazon that we have shared royalties and this is what we have allocated you. So that is what I'm calling royalty income. When you allow someone else to profit from your ideas, to profit from your processes, to profit from your products. Another avenue is through franchises. Okay, we know we have KFC here, for example, but the original KFC is very many miles away from here. So I want to set up a shop, or rather an eatery, and I want it to be affiliated to KFC. So I talked to them, I want to set up a KFC in Muranga, for example, and we get into an arrangement and we agree that we will allow you to use the name KFC. They might give you some stringent measures. Some brands might tell you, for you to run the name KFC, these are the recipes you must use. We want our food to taste the same everywhere, all right? But as you operate under our name, at the end of every period, you will pay us this, okay? So people will now pay you for using your name, for using your brand, and that is how franchises will work. So today you want to open up a butter shop, for example, and you want it branded butter. You can approach butter and tell them, hey, I want to open a butter shop. And butter will tell you there's no problem, provided that we will supply you with whatever it is you will sell, provided that you will use the name, and then at the end of the day, you will pay us this much. That becomes royalty income to butter. Okay, so that is how royalty income works. Sometimes it can be natural resources. A country is endowed with oil, is endowed with some minerals, but maybe they don't have the capacity to do the mining. Then there is another foreign company that has the capacity to do the mining. So this other country can allow that other foreign company to come and profit from these natural resources, but then enter into an agreement that says that on every liter of oil, on every barrel of oil that you will mine, you will give us 10 shillings, for example. So that becomes royalty income. They're paying you for allowing them to profit from that which is yours. So those are the 7 different types of income that I wanted to share with us this morning. But the big question that I'm asking you is, why are you comfortable operating with one when we have 7? What is happening to the other 6? Who do you want to benefit from the other 6? What is stopping you from partaking of the other 6? What is stopping you? All right. Is it that you think you don't have adequate capital? Is it that you think you don't have adequate time? Right? Because that is what many people, especially who are in remuneration income, say, that I don't have time. So I'm just confined to one source of income. Every time I ask this question, the first answer that comes is that we are too busy. We don't have time. And I understand them. It's because for many people, when we talk about another source of income, what comes to their mind is a business. The orientation we have gotten. Today, I've given you 7 avenues. So if you've just been thinking that the only way you can make another coin is through profit income, then you have a bigger spectrum. So when I hear you say you don't have time, I understand. Probably it's because you think that for you to make another coin, you must start a business. And it becomes difficult to actually manage business from a distance. It becomes difficult to manage a business through proxies. I know people who've burned fingers because they started a business and entrusted it to a relative. They started a business and entrusted it to an employee they thought was a very good employee, an employee they thought very faithful employee. And then with time, they begin to realize that things are not going the way they thought that things would go. And people have burned fingers. People have borrowed, have been left with debt because they started a business. Because in their mind, the only income they could make was from a business. So I want to believe that today you have widened your spectrum. Today you have gotten to an understanding that it doesn't have to be business always. Or if you are in business, when you say you are busy, it's probably because you're also thinking about another avenue, maybe another business, and you're wondering, how do I split myself from this business to the other business? It doesn't always have to be another business. It can be another avenue. It can be rental. It can be even remuneration. You can be in business, but you have some time on your hands because remuneration income requires time. So if you realize you have a lot of time, I meet people who have a lot of time. So if you are employed, but you have a lot of time on you, maybe you work up to Friday, you have the whole Saturday with you. You might need to ask yourself whether it is possible for you to make another income from somewhere. By the way, there is no law that prohibits you from having more than one job. Okay, so if you realize that you can take up another assignment without jeopardizing your main hustle, then you might need to go for it. All right. So I know people who during the day will be working in this other place, but during the night they are also sharing the same skills, probably online with another organization, and they get paid double. Those are 2 sources of income from the same box. There are those people who are in business, right? And they still have time. The kind of business is the kind of business that allows them to have some time on their hands. They can take up another job that would be flexible to allow them continue doing their business while they're also now earning remuneration income. Okay, so you need to look at those factors and begin to see what works for you. But before I finish, I want to share with us how do you begin to select the option that works for you? Okay, and I'll just share some two tips, 2 ways of getting to know to pick that which would work for you. So if you are here and you've been thinking about an extra, another source of income, where do you start from? So I just want to share 2 things. Number 1, you need to examine your current position. Examine your current position. Take a moment and reflect on where you are today. So when I examining your current position, I'm for instance looking at things like your current income option. Remind yourself, where do you make money from? So maybe you're making it from remuneration. Okay, so remind yourself that currently I'm making money from remuneration. Currently, I'm making money from profit income. Currently, I am relying on interest income. So remind yourself your main source of income. Okay, where are you making money from today? Remuneration income. Okay. Number 2 that you need to consider as you examine your current position is time and energy. How much time do you have on your hands? And how much energy do you feel you have? If you realize you have too much time on your hands, you need to place this time. You need to apportion this time. Remember, as a steward, other than being a steward of money, you are also a steward of time. So you need to remind yourself, is there something else that you can do with this time that you feel is plenty on your hands? The good thing is that you will always know if you have plenty of time on your hands. Just look at the hours that you work and look at the remaining hours. If you realize you have plenty of time on your hands, then it is time you started thinking about how best you can apportion that particular time so that it becomes profitable, it becomes useful. Then look at energy, because some sources might require you to utilize your energy. Do you still feel you're energetic? You have some strength in you? Do you still feel that you are underutilized in terms of energy? And that means that you have some energy that you need to exchange for some income. So then you might want to start looking around for opportunities for you to exchange your energy for some income. All right. I know a friend of mine who is employed as a coach, as a sports coach. Okay, so he earns remuneration income as a sports coach. Now he gets to a point he realizes he has a lot of energy still left. So time he also approaches other people and tells them, look, I have energy here. I have time. I'm not tired enough, because probably he has one lesson wherever he is employed. So once he has taught people how to swim for 2 hours, his class is finished. His salary is assured at the end of the month. So what does he do with remaining hours? So he has the opportunity to approach another person, another organization, and tell them, look, I have these skills. I can train your people here. I can train your kids here, and things like those. So I was looking at him and I realized this guy has about 5 employers, right? The guy has about 5 employers, and he still has time to consult as a consultant and also make some income as a consultant. So many times we limit ourselves. Once we have the first job, we might be doing the job for 2 hours, and then we go home and sleep. Tunasema siku imeingia. You've heard people say siku ishaingia. Siku ishaingia, but you still have a lot of hours on your hands. You need to apportion them. You need to place so that they become also useful. Right. Another thing that you need to look at as you examine your current position is your endowments. How gifted are you? Do you know your talents? Do you know your gifts? Do you know your passions? Do you know your interests? Why are you sitting on them? Some of them can be commercialized, can be monetized. All right. Some of them can be monetized. Long ago, and many times when I share my story, my journey in the world of training, speaking, and coaching, I have said many times that I used to be my own enemy. For a long time, I did not believe that it is possible that speaking can actually foot someone's bills. I did not believe, and I used to fight it until the day I met my mentor, the guy who's spurred to levels where we are today. And I looked at his life and I asked him whether he had another source of income. And he told me, this is all I do. And I told myself, wow, you mean it is possible that you can actually rely on your mouth and that becomes everything? Because that is a gift. That is an endowment. It is natural to you. All right. So it is not a mistake that some of us can speak for 12 hours. It is not a mistake, right? It's an endowment that can be commercialized. It's an endowment that can feed you. It's an endowment that can bring you income. Look at your endowments. You are this person who loves cooking, right? And every time you are so interested in cooking and cooking and cooking. Is it possible that we can pay you for cooking? Is it possible that you can cook things and sell to us? Right? I have very many people I have challenged in these similar settings, and they've come back to report that from that day I started going and I started selling snacks and things like those. Today I have a student who has graduated from mere selling cooking of snacks in houses and distributing to restaurant, simply because they chose to believe in this simple challenge, and they went home and looked at their endowments and realized they loved cooking. They started cooking some samosas and snacks, selling in the estate. Then they started selling in offices. Then they acquired the relevant papers. The interest grew. And then today they have a restaurant. So that can be you. Probably you are sitting on these endowments. There are people who are talented in art. They are good drawers. they can actually draw very interesting pictures, but you're sitting on it. Do you know that you can actually draw? And instead of using your social media to tell us holiday things and Sunday things, you can actually now be post the pieces of art that you can be able to do, and you don't know what that will attract. And before you know it, that has become another source of income. All right, so that is another thing you need to look at as you look at your current position. You're beginning to come to terms with yourself. You're doing a self-awareness sort of things. Where am I standing? What are my current income options? What am I earning from? What is my time and energy looking like? Do I still have more left? What are my endowments? Another thing you need to look at are your resources. What are the resources within reach for you? And resources is not just money. So it goes beyond money. We're beginning to look at what are your networks, okay? Who do you know where? Who are the people you network with? Who are the people you hang around with? Those people could easily become your customers. It is possible that something can come out of it. You need to look at your time as a resource. How much time do you have? How is your time spread? How is the allocation of your time? Can you reallocate it and probably begin to make sense out of it? You need to look at things like special skills and your resources. You need to look at other things that you have. You need to look at things like probably. Sorry for that. There's a Kenyan here who wants to compete in this space. You need to look at things like laptops, your phone. You need to remind yourself the resources that you have. You have internet probably in your house. You have access to a phone, a smartphone. You have access to a laptop. Begin to ask yourself, what do I use my laptop for? Is it just for typing a thing or two here and there, and then you close and you are happy that you have a laptop? Other people are using their laptop 24 hours. The laptop is about to shout, but it's being overstretched. But the machine was made to serve you. It has capacity to run hours on end without breaking down. Those are your resources you need to look at and ask yourself, is there something I can do to utilize this laptop much more? Is there something I can do to utilize my smartphone much more? You have a very powerful smartphone. You tell people that you bought this smartphone at 50,000 shillings, at 70,000 shillings, and that's just as far as it goes. You don't even utilize 50% of the capacity of the smartphone. Is it possible you can make a coin from it? Is it possible you can do something on it to help you attract another income? While you're looking at your current position, you also are asking yourself, why do I need another income? Why do I need another income? If you have an answer to why you need another income, it will also help direct your thoughts to options that can answer to that particular need. For example, you might say, I need another income to supplement my current income. I feel my current. If that is your answer, then you will not be looking for options that will give you money after 10 years. You will be looking for options that can give you money monthly, so that when you earn your money from your usual stream, you can also be getting something small from another stream. And then when you put together, that begins to make sense to you, right? So you need to also ask yourself why you need another income. If you're looking for another income so that you can safeguard the future of your children's education, then you will be looking for avenues that can be promising to answer to that futuristic question. So as you look at your current position, you also need to answer yourself that question of why do you need another income? Then lastly, as you look at your current position, you also need to ask yourself, what does your risk appetite look like? Different people have different risk appetites, right? There are people who will be okay burning their fingers. They will come back and they don't mind trying again and again. There are people, if they bought shares at 5 bob and tomorrow the shares go to 3 bob, they want to give up on life, right? Because they start thinking, they start seeing their entire life going down every other day, and they cannot stomach that. So you need to know yourself. You need to know what your risk appetite looks like, so that then you will not go looking for income streams that are going against your risk appetite, because you also need to remain sane and sober. Okay, so don't just do things that everyone else is doing. Probably those are not your things. Probably those are things that will burn your fingers. You need to be your own person, even as you look for another stream of income. You need to be true to yourself, to be original to yourself, right? So don't just see your colleague surviving with a side hustle of a business, and then you also want to jump into business. You'll be so shocked that business does not respect the fact that you picked the idea from a successful business, right? So if you want to go into business, you need to take time and examine the business idea, right? The business idea is the thought that you have, is the concept that you have of business. You need to take time and examine the business opportunity. Okay, you see, business idea is a concept that I am thinking that if I buy this and sell this, I will make money. It's a concept. Then business opportunity is the availability of the market for your business idea. So if you think that you will buy this and sell this, where are you planning to do it from? Do you think there'll be market for that? You see, selling winter jackets is a very brilliant idea, but that idea will flop on the first day if you are to exercise it in Northeastern. All right, so it's a brilliant idea, yes, it's a good business idea, depending on where you will place it. But there is no business opportunity for winter jackets in Northeastern Kenya, for example. Okay, so these things of people telling you can never go wrong with this particular business do not hold water always. Okay, so just be truthful to yourself and take time to really understand that which you want to get yourself into. If you are sure that it's not clear to you, please ask questions, and that will be very useful for you. Now, so that was number one. Number one tip was examine your current position. So all the things I've shared were under examining your current position. You're coming to terms with where you are today, with who you are and where you are today. That begins to help you begin to know which way you can begin to take. Then number two, you need to choose your best option. You have now examined where you are. It has given you some hints on where you can start from. Now you need to choose your best option. You need to select your best option. Of course, you want to ask, so which one will be my best option? Which one will be a good option for me? A good option for you is an option that does not compete or conflict with your main source of reliable income. All right, at least in the beginning. So if you are employed and this is your reliable source of income and you are thinking about another source, for starters, if you still value a job, you are not thinking about an option that will start jeopardizing your success in your current job. You're not looking for an option that will start competing with your current job. If anything, you might lose your current job and you're still setting up this other option. So a good job for you, or rather a good option for you, will be an option that is not competing with your current option, right? A good option for you would be an option that begins to tap from your current resources. You see, if you have an option that begins to tap from your current resources, it will not overstretch you. It will not begin to force you to go look for other resources, probably that will waste time or rather take more time, or probably that will maybe force you into going into debt and things like those. All right. It is easier for you to start off looking for an option that utilizes your current skill set than when you want to venture into an option that requires you to go back to school and acquire new skills for you to come and set it up. It is easier for you to start looking for an option that utilizes your current laptop, your current smartphone, than for one that causes you to go and begin buying another laptop, begin buying another smartphone, and maybe you don't have that particular money. So from where you are standing today, a good option, a better option would be that which can begin to tap into what you already have today. A good option is that option that can easily and and can easily be monitored, can easily be managed, can adequately be monitored and be managed and be effectively monitored. You see, this thing of opening a shop and thinking that while you are at your place of work, you can be making calls, and you believe that your sister is best suited, or your other relative, or whoever it is that you have entrusted your dream in their hands, is the best suited to handle a business. And you think you will be making calls and asking, so how many things have you bought? How many things have you sold? And you want to think that this business will deliver. There are very few cases where that has worked, very few cases. And in those cases, then you must put in place measures that will help you track and monitor progress properly. Otherwise, many of the cases where businesses have been established and left in the hands of other people, many times that capital has been wasted. You know, business is a different world altogether. Very different world. Very different world. Right. So most of the people who will leave our dreams in their hands, they may not share the burden that we had. They may not share the vision that we had. They may not understand why we are setting up that particular business. And because you are not there to monitor progress, especially if it's a business you're not interested in, it's a business, you are a laid back person. You come back from work, you're only asking, leo tumetengeneza profit ya pesa ngapi? Then business is not for you. So you are told 1,000, you are happy, at least tumetengeneza kitu. Right? 2,000, you are happy. Maybe the business has potential of making 10,000 per day, but you are very happy making 2,000 and you're comfortable. Tomorrow when you'll be told 500, you'll still be comfortable because at least tumetengeneza kitu. Before you know it, you're going into your pocket to pay for rent. You're going into your pocket to pay your employees. It is not very possible, very easy, rather, to run businesses using remote control. It is not easy. So if your next thought or your next source of income was to be profit income, you need to think about it very keenly and probably venture into a thing that can easily be monitored. You can put into place measures that will help you monitor, track performance, and you have to be in charge. You have to demonstrate interest. When you come back, you have to sit down, examine how things have moved, look at how stock was arranged, look at those changes, seek for answers to disparities that you will see. Let your people know that you are a hands-on kind of person. That way, then you begin to mitigate some of the risks associated with opening a business that you are not available for. Right, so that is something that you need to consider. Of course, when you talk about another income, I have to remind us that it is doable, that you can do it. You can have another income. It is very possible, very possible. Just think through the 7 options. Some options are passive. So that means even if you're busy, you only need to send your money. You only need to allocate your money, and that begins to work for you. And that begins to give you something. That begins to give you interest. That begins to give you some dividends, for example. Those are passive options that don't need your presence, don't need your sweat, don't need your time, don't need your energy directly. So if you realize that you don't have time, think about passive options. Then look for money and place your money correctly and begin to earn those passive incomes. What I'm trying to say is that don't be comfortable with one source of income. Don't. That one source of income is a scam. I don't know the best way to put this across, but just don't be comfortable with one source of income. Always have something else coming from whichever source. An extra shilling feels sweeter than no shilling at all. So don't think, never mind, it will start coming as small amounts. It's okay, build on it. It is better than when you have nothing coming and you're waiting for bigger things, for you to set up things that will start giving you profit in hundreds of thousands to match your current income or to be more than your income from the word go. Sometimes it doesn't work like that. You have to be prepared to be part of the process because it's a process. Ladies and gentlemen, with those very many words, I like to remind us what I always remind us, that you can do better. Thank you so much, and God bless you abundantly. Back to you, Erastus. Erastus or anyone in the office?
Hello, Roy, I'm here. Sorry for that. I hope you can all hear me.
Yes.
Thank you once again, Roy, for the 7 eye openers. It's a challenge to me. I think I've been doing 2. So I have 5 more to go. It's a challenge to me. And I thank God for using you to be a blessing to us in this season. And may God richly bless you. I don't know if someone has a question before, because of time, we still have a few minutes. So I don't know if someone has a question. Yes. I see people saying it's eye-opener, challenging, very educative. Okay, the presentation, someone is telling me to share the presentation. Actually, it's online. When you go to, currently we are streaming live. When you go to Paki YouTube page or Paki Facebook, you'll be able to see it. So I don't have to share the link, but apart from that, I'll share the link too. But you can go online, Paki YouTube page and Paki Facebook page, and you'll be able to interact with it. Where you've missed, yes, thank you. Someone is saying they were late. So again, what I've said, you will be able to get it online. You get the 7 sources of income. Yes. Any question for Roy? Any clarification? Any view that you'd like to share? I think I'll give us a minute. Roy, I see Wahome is asking a question about agriculture. Roy, in the chat, if you can read that.
Thank you. I've seen the question on agriculture. Is agriculture a source of income? Yes, it is a source of income, largely under profit income, because there is money you spend on inputs, and then there is money you get after you have harvested and sold whatever it is that you want to sell. It is unfortunate that you're saying it is draining you. I know it can be draining, but most importantly, you need to evaluate why it is draining you. Where is the gap? Is it because of natural reasons? Is it because of maybe things that you did not do correctly? Is it because of market challenges? Is it because of what you are farming? What exactly is the issue? Usually, I will not be quick to advise you to abandon. Usually, I want to get to the root cause. I want you to convince yourself that that you understand what is making you feel like it's a burden, what is making you burn your fingers every other day, how come you are spending more than you are earning, where exactly is the challenge. That way, then it's easier for you to zero in on the challenge and begin to address it. So if you realize that maybe you harvest and there is no market, or maybe it is because of some pests and diseases along the way, then you might want to zero in on that and ask yourself, so how do I avoid this going forward? If you realize that maybe the harvest didn't happen the way you thought, you had anticipated that you will harvest this number of tons in an acre of land, then it has given you fewer tons. You must explain to yourself, why is it so? Then once you explain, you move to the next level and ask yourself, so what can I do about this? Or how did this come about? Then once you know how it came about, then what can you do about it to avoid it next time? because agribusiness is big. It is growing every other day. People need to eat, and food will never be enough. So is it that you have confined yourself to a market that is not your market, that is not sustainable? Could it be possible that you can expand your market? Is it possible that you can seek for new markets elsewhere? Just evaluate all that. It's unfortunate that I may not be able to answer you direct to the point because of the general nature of the question. But my suggestion, my answer, first of all, is that yes, it is an income. It is profit income because you put in some money and you will get some money, then the difference will be your profit. Then I will assure you that agribusiness, I have seen very many people do well in agribusiness. Of course, there are no guarantees in all these types of businesses, different types of incomes. There are no guarantees. But what usually works is that if you burn your fingers, pick your lessons. If you still believe in that particular venture, try next time and avoid the other things. Take other measures. If there's insurance for your kind of crops, you can also be able to take up insurance and see if it can be useful to you and things like those. So find out why it is giving you a headache. And probably then from there, we can begin to answer the question directly of what is happening. Now, someone is saying that they tried shylocking, have ended up following debts that can't and won't be paid, but still feel like pursuing this line. I also tried Mkokoteni, where the one who uses pays 100 per day. Challenge is at times he says hakuna kazi. Please advise on how best to monitor such venture. Thank you so much. This is Charlene. Wow, Charlene. Good. You have tried shylocking. I have also tried shylocking back in the day. Much as I've been a heavier beneficiary of shylocks and they have a big role in who I have become today, not because of their money, but because of how they contributed to my story. For those of you who know my story, at some point I also tried lending money, and I know the risks that are involved. I've also been involved in helping other lenders to streamline their lending function. So, well, I understand what you are saying. I like that you feel pursuing this line. Maybe you need to start calling yourself bigger names. You need to stop calling yourself a Shylock. You need to start having a vision of probably having your own microfinance bank in the days to come and things like those, so that you do not confine yourself to probably the operation of small scale lending. But that's a conversation we can have another time. So let me look at the Mkokoteni business. So you had a Mkokoteni business where the one who uses pays 100 shillings per day. The challenge is that that person sometimes says hakuna kazi. What I've seen work and what I would have advised usually is not for you to give them Mkokoteni to the person to stay with it and give you 100 per day. Usually what I have seen work is that they pay when they're coming for the Mkokoteni. They do the job, they return the Mkokoteni. When another person comes for the Mkokoteni, he pays for the Mkokoteni as they pick the Mkokoteni. So what usually happens is that, well, I don't know whether you had one or several, but even if you had one, then you can place it in a strategic place, probably under the management of someone, maybe near a shop or near a hardware shop or something like that, and then have someone monitoring the same. Then let those boys know that you have a Mkokoteni for them, right? Then they pay you upfront for coming for the Mkokoteni, or whichever arrangement you'll have, but they must pay per trip. So if they take the Mkokoteni, many of those that I've seen thriving usually call for the money beforehand, or depending on the trust you have with your boys, because with time, you will get to know these boys better, you get to know who is reliable and things like those. So you know if so and so takes it, hata kama hajalipwa na mteja, akilipwa ataleta yake. That is now a relationship. Yeah, but before then, they come pay you the 50 bob or the 100 bob, they go with the Mkokoteni, they bring, right? And you have measures in place. You say that I'm giving you my Mkokoteni, the maximum time for your 100 shillings is this time. So that ikipita hapo, mtu asichukue ati alienda safari ya mbali na anachukua 5 hours na alikulipa 100 shillings. So you should also sit down and come up with measures of time. Like if I give you 100 per trip, But a trip should not last longer than this. If it lasts longer than this, then the price moves from 100 to this, so that they're able to discipline themselves because they know this thing is timed. Okay. Many times when I would look for mkokoteni service, I would hear them say, when you are bargaining the price, you will hear them say, mahali naenda kutoa, they will want me to pay them this. So sasa mimi nitabaki na hii. So when I've interacted with the vendors, they have said that has proved to work much better than where they would give someone mkokoteni and tell them, at the end of the day, give me 100 shillings. First of all, you will receive less. And then second of all, you see, you have no control. So if the person tells you, leo hakuna kazi, even if you have told them you must give me 100 bob per day, and the guy tells you, I don't even have 100 bob to give you, there was no work. You have no way, you can't track a mkokoteni, so you have no way of knowing whether indeed there was no work, ama jamaa amefanya job ameamua, he's not paying you. Okay, so that would be my suggestion for now, but it's something we can evaluate further and get to see the exact challenges on the ground. But I hope that will contribute something to you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Roy.
I have seen your comment. Always a pleasure to be hosted by you. Baraka pia.
Thank you, Roy. Something else, Roy might need to put your details down there. One good thing with Roy that you can interact with him offline as an individual, and he can help you. One thing I know is Roy can help you run with your business, startup, and all that. So there, Roy has put his number. So feel free to contact him. Feel free to ask him questions offline. And I believe he'll be a help and a blessing to you and your investment. Because of time, we're remaining with 3 minutes. I wouldn't want to take much of our time. So we'll just pray. And for those who came in for the first time, we always do this every month. And it has been a blessing. We have the other recordings. If you are not there, we have the other recordings. So feel free to. I'll also put my number there. We have a WhatsApp group that we share all the recordings. And the WhatsApp group is not for chatting, so it's only the admin who controls what is posted there. So feel free to join. We won't log your inbox or your WhatsApp with a lot of things and the forwards. So feel free, if you'd like to join, to get more information, our monthly topics, the recordings and updates. Roy always shares with us updates and things he's doing. So feel free to contact me and I'll add you to the WhatsApp group. That's my number. My name is Erastus Kwaka, for those who don't know me. I serve in fellowship in Parklands Baptist Church. So we'll just pray. And Mom, Martha, if you don't mind praying for us and probably saying a word or two, we'll appreciate. Thank you. Mom, Mother, if you can hear me, and thank you for constantly logging in. You've never been late to join. Thank you. You've never missed to join. Sorry. Yeah. So if you can hear me, Mom, Martha, you pray for us, you close for us with a word of prayer.
She had requested to leave. I think she has left.
Okay. If she's left, I'll ask, sorry, let me, I don't know who will pray for us. Someone, is Jen here? Jen Akaliche, if you're there, you can pray for us. Okay, I'll pray. If Jane is not there, I'll pray. So let's pray. If you can all hear me. Father, in the mighty name of Jesus Christ, we come before you. We give you glory and honor, thanksgiving in our heart, Lord, for such a time as this. You've given us the gift of life, good health, and we don't take it for granted, oh God. Thank you for this sharing that you've enabled us to have, Lord, for the immense wealth and knowledge you've given our brother Roy. Lord, may you add to it, oh God. May you expand his territories. May you bless him. May you cover his family and all that he does. And for all who are able to join here, Lord, we believe that this has been a blessing to them. And not only them, we believe that many more will be watching later, and this will be a blessing to them. Lord, we thank you, we worship you, we glorify you. As you continue with the rest of our day, Lord, may you strengthen us, Lord. As it is written that you give us strength for the day, Lord. As the days are, so shall thy strength be. Lord, may you strengthen us according to this day, O God. We give you glory, we give you honor. Anything we are afraid of, Holy Spirit, continue interceding on our behalf. For we pray, believing and trusting in the mighty name of Jesus Christ. Pray. Amen. Thank you. Thank you. And we'll now end the meeting. And thank you guys for taking your time to be here.